Carnival Unmasked. IFTR goes Cologne. Hello, welcome to the first episode of our podcast Carnival Unmasked. IFTR goes Cologne. What you are about to hear is an interview we did last year with Bishnupriya Dutt and Tim White, board members of the IFTR, to get to know them and the IFTR itself a little. Enjoy! Right now, we are recording at the Schloss Wahn, the local institute for theatre research. With us are Bishnupriya Dutt, Professor of Theatre and Performance Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University of Delhi. In her studies, she focuses on feminism in theatre, feminist performance, and influential actresses and performers in Indian theatre. She is also an actress and director herself, and of course, the president of the IFTR.
Also with us is Tim White, reader of the Theatre and Performance Studies at the University of Warwick and the IFTR's treasurer. He's interested in the theatricality of dining, interactions between the actual and the virtual, and immersion in the virtual. He has staged a number of motion capture performances and directed and designed a virtual reality game where you can experience 14 of Shakespeare's sonnets. Bishnupriya, Tim, we are so lucky to have you here. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
My name is Luisa.
And my name is Priyanka. And we wanted to know, how did you experience Cologne so far?
This is not my first time. I've been here many times. We've had a lot of collaborations. Cologne has been one of the European universities who's really opened up its doors to international students, to internationalizing the discipline. And that was one of the main reasons we thought, Cologne should be the host for 2025, and particularly during my presidency. And it's been, as usual, wonderful. I love Cologne. I find it a very cosmopolitan urban city with a lot of diversity. And the Weihnachtsmarkt, the Christmas markets, are just a joy, that added joy.
For my part, this is only my second visit, and in fact the first time I came to Cologne was to this castle where we're very fortunate to be. I've since discovered there is more to Cologne than castles, and travelled to the university and seen the excellent facilities there. And I think it strikes me as an ideal, compact and very manageable venue in which to hold the next International Federation for Theatre Research conference.
Nice, thank you so much. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what is the IFTR in general.
It's the International Federation for Theatre Research, as Priyanka mentioned, and it's the largest theatre research forum in the world. So it's many scholars come there who work with theatre and performance studies. We have a lot of senior scholars whose work we read, as we said, the foundation for the discipline. We have scholars who are sort of rising, who's becoming more and more prominent. And we also have a forum for new scholars who want to come into the discipline. And for my part, I would say, in India, this is a new discipline, a nascent discipline. There was no theatre and performance studies. Even now, there's only a couple of departments which does research in theatre and performance studies. And I found it so important for my students, for us, to share our research in these forums. So, you can do it in smaller, specialized, focused groups like the working groups, where I've always presented. That's a feminist research working group. And those are amazing because people read your papers, they come ready with comments. And some of the scholars whose work has inspired us has always been there in this working group to give feedback. And then, of course, general panels, and you can curate them. And then New Scholars Forum, which is really something we nurture and we think is very precious. So IFTR has all these components. In addition, a lot of workshops, how to publish, how to sort of, come into this sort of, discipline, and many other such facets. So IFTR is many things.
And I would just add to that, if you are thinking about becoming a member of IFTR, for me it was an experience that was both humbling and revelatory, because we all come from our particular spheres of learning and we think we understand theatre, but to gather with other people who have completely different, sometimes contrasting, sometimes similar views of theatre, but nevertheless to understand that you have but a partial view of this thing that we call theatre, and to learn and to expand your sense of the possibilities of theatre is truly a kind of wonderful thing to enjoy, and that's really what the conferences are about.
That's so nice. I feel like you already kind of took on what I was about to ask, because...
Sorry.
That's fine. Because I felt like you have this passion for, getting new people to attend the IFTR conference, and also to have new scholars show what they're researching about. And I was wondering if you would imagine us to be students of yours, how would you pitch the IFTR, or what would be like something you would tell in your lecture to make people attend the IFTR, or specifically this conference?
For the new scholars, I always emphasize to my student that don't get into the micro specificities of your work, or don't also be too expansive. But, these are forums where you should talk about methodological questions, also, more theoretical, critical frameworks, which can bring different scholars together. So the way we sort of try to, have the new scholars, first you meet your peers, and we try to really, do a lot of lateral thinking. So you may not think that, okay, this paper aligns with mine, but then it's somewhere they do come together. We have very senior scholars who will be sort of moderating the session, and most of the IFTR members come to attend the session. So at the end of it, what they go back with it doesn't really, sort of adds to a sort of a knowledge base, but what it does, it sort of expands and makes you think about methodological questions and the critical frameworks, which I think is very important, to structure your chapters, your essays, your thesis at the end of it, and then come together. So I would say that to my students.
And just to add to that, I think it's really beneficial to realise that those people whose texts that you read in class are actually human flesh and blood people, and they have ideas, and you can engage with those ideas, and that also helps kind of visualise the sense that could be me. We're very keen. New scholars is an obvious place of entry, but to actually think that this is something that I might do, and to feel that it's not so far beyond you, that there's this immutable divide between those who teach and those who learn. We are all there to learn, and some of the most insightful things come from people who, to put it crudely, may not have been institutionalized by always understanding things from an academic point of view. So we like to think it's an inclusive environment where people, have the humility to kind of recognize points of difference, and to take advantage of these opportunities for learning, regardless of what stage of their career they might be in.
Yeah, really nice. You already said so many convincing things about the conference and the IFTR in general. I would ask you to, maybe in German we say, put a cherry on the cream of the pie, like the last nice point to get a great experience. Maybe you can tell us about some memorable experience in the context of the conferences, like a lovely memory or a funny memory, something really special for you.
Oh, there's nothing like being put on the spot, is there? Well, it's difficult. I don't want to create the sensation that it's entirely work and it's entirely play, but I think it makes a difference that the discussions extend beyond the formality of the conference environment, and there is as much business and work and ideas, I would suggest, that happen at the kind of coffee breaks, or sometimes in the meals that you go out for afterwards. For a moment you create this kind of temporary community where possibilities seem that they can be realized, and I'm not really giving you a specific example, probably because lawyers would have to be involved. But no, it's about coming together and sharing what you think is perhaps an isolated passion, and discovering that there are other people who understand this and can enlarge your perception of what things are about, and in an enjoyable fashion. I think it's very collegiate, it's very sociable, so the conference is bookended both by an opening reception and then a farewell closing event, and these are quite often quite performative in nature. So, we have, aside from variable degrees of dancing and movement from the various delegates, there's also kind of like shows and other aspects of that, as well as a cultural program that runs alongside the conference, where we get exposed to some of the theatre that sometimes doesn't travel beyond the country, and we're able to see in the venue itself. Yeah.
Well, I think for me, it's been that I've seen IFTR grow over the years, and it's become really a place to accommodate diversity. So in a world, where there's so much of discrimination, so much of, differences and divisions, I think we do bring people together. We talk about theatre and performance, which, has this sense of building solidarities, building strategies on the ground in a world which is sort of torn apart by so many other things, and wars and strifes and, so many sort of exclusions. And I think we've all sort of committed to that. And, we've over the years, we've seen how IFTR has such a large membership from the Global South, scholars we rarely meet. And just for the cherry on the pie, as you said, I keep on remembering my first experience at the IFTR. And I made a lot of presentation when I was referring to this feminist scholar, Ellen Diamond. And I didn't know she was in the audience. And I come out and she just turns around and said, "Oh, you interpreted my thing in a very different way." And I kept on thinking of the Woody Allen film where, they were talking about McLuhan, and he turns around and says, "It's me you're talking about today." I hope everybody gets that experience, and that's that wow moment that, okay, I'm there. It sounds a lot of vanity, but yeah, you feel you're in amidst where you should be.
An opportunity to meet your idols, maybe. Well, we've talked about the scholarly aspect of the conference. Now, maybe on a more practical point of view, what would be tips that you would give somebody that is attending for the first time?
In general terms, because obviously there are logistical challenges that result in it travelling to different places around the world, but in general terms, I think to try and, if you're coming for the first time, try and get in touch, particularly if you're a new scholar, with other people who might be going, so collectively you can stay in the same place, so you don't feel, the worst possible feeling is that you don't know anyone at all. So if there's any way that you can preempt that by at least having someone you're going to meet up with on the first evening. We do have a new scholars meet at the very beginning of the conference, so obviously use that as well, so that you can feel that you're part of a larger circle. I would also say, don't feel intimidated. Everybody has that kind of imposter syndrome, or is like nervous before they give their speech, is writing the night before. Well, maybe it's just me, but there is still that sense. We are not all perfect academics who do things like this, and we have shortcomings and failures, and we do our best, and there's some brilliant work that comes out of it. But do not feel that you're coming here as a kind of in some way a kind of lesser being if this is your first time. The best feeling, I think, for myself is to make people who have that degree of anxiety to say, it's fine, do your best, we'll support you, we'll help you, because hopefully that plays forward, and then they in turn will do that to other people. So it increases this sense of inclusivity.
That's so great, because actually it's part of what we are trying to do also with this podcast, to open our arms to the attendees of the IFTR. So very well said.
And I would add, to what Tim said, is be practical. So get your visas in time, hotel bookings in time, know where you're staying, be, safe. Because, these are things which cause additional stress and additional distress, and accidents happen and things happen. But if you're well prepared for travel to somewhere like Germany, which of course is in Europe, so, it's more accessible. I think, but it's always good to sort of plan in advance and have all your plans and everything laid out. And of course, the question of funding. Mm-hmm. So that also, I think the budgeting and everything, we have bursaries and support, but otherwise too, I think it'll be important to sort of have your plans in place.
Perfect. I think you already said some really important aspects about our next question, because we were going to ask next, because there are so many people coming from all around the world to talk theater and Carnival. And our question is if the IFTR provides some infrastructure to support all the people and especially the new people, like with their travel plans.
Very much so. So Pia already mentioned that we provide bursaries, and this is a very important part of the organisation. So in a very kind of compact way, the structure, people become members and there is a membership fee. And as the organisation, what we try and do is use that membership fee to ensure that we get the breadth of people from the kind of countries that maybe cannot afford so easily as some other countries to visit conferences. So we have bursaries. At the moment, that is €30,000 a year that people can apply for, and that gives assistance. I think it's either 50 or 70%, isn't it, depending on certain criteria, which covers their travel and accommodation. So by that means, people who otherwise wouldn't be able to attend can, and they can apply for, I think, 3 years in a row for this funding. So that is a primary means by which we do that. But we also support certainly the new scholars when they're here, because we run additional events and there's mentoring and kind of coaching things. We provide feedback on the abstracts that they provide as well. So I think once you enter into that, however trepidatious it may seem, there is quite an extensive support network to say, yes, you can do this, come along, it's going to be great. And, we just hope that encourages you both to say to other people, I did it, it wasn't as bad as I thought. And thereby the organisation grows and it's more diverse and we all benefit as a result.
And we also offer prizes. So any young scholar can actually sort of submit an essay to be judged as either a New Scholars Prize or the Helsinki Prize, which means you have to be a scholar from Asia, Latin America, or Africa, and coming for the first time to the conference. So they will fund everything for you then.
Well, that's been a very encouraging talk, I think, giving us loads of opportunities to keep on talking. But actually, we wanted to ask you one last question, because actually in the local carnival, which is also the theme of this year or next year's IFTR. We, in the local carnival, we wear costumes to celebrate. And we have this saying, sei wer du willst, which translates to be whoever you want to be. And we wanted to ask you, if you were to wear a costume this carnival, who would you be?
Take your time.
I would say that carnival traditions has, a lot of local variations. So, and as Tim had started, that when we use the word theatre, do we restrict the scope of it? And I know in India, there's a lot of these performance traditions which comes, with the sort of the carnival as you roam around the village and the cities with your dress, and you can dress up as some animals. And my favorite has always been to dress up as the elephant. So if I have to, and I would love to wear a sort of a elephant costume and very regally walk around the Cologne city. That would be my sort of.
I love that. That's nice.
I think I would probably, and some who know me may suggest it would not be a great leap, but I would like to be the fool, the person who's given license to take advantage of the kind of relaxed codes of behaviour and conduct in the carnival and fully exploit those opportunities.
Wow.
Nice.
That sounds very good. So thank you so much for this talk. I think we got a great insight into the IFTR and what's ahead of us. And I hope we will see each other at the conference and have a very nice time.
I hope so, and thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
We're looking forward to Cologne.